As I mentioned, the U.S. women's team has achieved an awful lot. The U.S. women's team is the standard bearer for excellence in all sports, not just women's sports, and in American sports as well. And they've won. The team has won the 1991 World Cup, the 1999 World Cup, and the 2015 World Cup, and they've won other trophies as well. And there's a standard of excellence and seriousness about purpose and passion that exists in the women's game that doesn't really exist in the men's game yet here. Um, and despite all of this, the women's memorabilia is not valued as highly as men. And there's a number of reasons for this, and I don't want to get into a whole lot of them. I just want to touch on it from a collecting standpoint and from a soccer standpoint. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there are just not as many women's teams as men's teams. There are countries around the world where women are not allowed to vote, where women are treated as second-class citizens. In some cases, they're treated as second-class citizens even here in the States. There are a lot of other issues involved. So it's important to understand that there are a lot of places where there's no women's football, and there's no setup, and there's a lot of opposition to it, which is very unfortunate, and it's sort of something that has to change, and it will change over time. Hopefully, it will change over time. But so that's sort of why I believe why women's memorabilia is not valued as high. There's just not as many teams. There's not as much drama. There's not as the demand isn't there yet for it, and there are other reasons maybe as well. The same thing with other types of women's sports where it's just it's not there yet. There's the TV ratings aren't there for the professional teams, so that's sort of the way it is. And here we can see example of this. The Carly Lloyd, this Carly Lloyd signed shirt. Carly Lloyd, very well known American player. This shirt sold for $120 on eBay in August. But it's not just the women's team that's maybe that's not valued as highly, or the professional players from the professional women's game that's not memorabilia from that's not valued as high. It's that the U.S. men's team memorabilia from the U.S. men's team is not valued that much higher either. And teams from MLS, memorabilia from MLS isn't valued as highly as from teams around the world. And we're going to take a look at that in the next slide. Here we see some examples of memorabilia that's sold, football memorabilia from teams in North America. To the left, we have a Seattle Sounders team signed shirt that's sold for $25 on eBay, and a team signed Chivas shirt that's sold for $50 on eBay. Not a heck of a lot of value yet for these items, and that has to do with the strength of the teams, the popularity of the teams. We will see, I think, in the future these values increase a little bit. I'm thinking. To the right, we have a Clint Dempsey signed Tottenham shirt, and that brought nearly $300. That's not a match-worn shirt. That's just a regular autographed shirt. So there is some value for some of the better players. Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan. I know a match-worn shirt from a shirt that was worn by Jorge Campos for the 1994 World Cup, I think sold for nearly $1,000. So there is some value for these items, but they have to be for players that are very well known, and they have to be match-worn shirts in a lot of cases. So this is just to give you a general idea sort of where we're at with memorabilia in the States, and for teams in Mexico, teams in Canada, teams in Central America, the Caribbean. It's just not there yet compared to shirts in Europe and South America. And if you're familiar with the sport, you would kind of expect that.